my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8.
Hello, BYWG podcast tribe. This is Dr. Noah. For the month of March 2019, the book of the month is none other than Vani Hari's new release, Feeding You Lives. And the product of the month is the entire line of superfoods from Four Sigmatic. As a reminder, all the links for the product in the book of the month will be listed in the show notes in iTunes, in our weekly newsletter, and on our website at www.beyondyourwildestgenes.com at the Listen Now tab. Our book of the month is Feeding You Lives by Vani Hari, How to Unravel the Food Industry's Playbook and Reclaim Your Health. Dr. Mike interviewed Vani on the Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast, and it was released on February 18th. You can listen to this release on our website, on your smartphone, YouTube, or Spotify. The product of the month is one of our favorite superfood companies, Four Sigmatic. They carry an incredible line of mushroom coffees, functional mushroom elixirs, and a brand new beauty line, and a few new products that I personally really enjoy, like Golden Latte Mushroom Mix, Mushroom Matcha Latte Mix, and Lion's Mane Focus Shots. A quick tip from us to staying healthy through the winter months is to try out their Shaga mushroom-containing products. You can also listen to me interview the founder of Four Sigmatic, Taro, twice on the BYWG podcast in the archives and our website as well. Enjoy the upcoming podcast. Hello and welcome back to Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. My name is Dr. Noah DeCoyer, your co-host. So a few weeks ago, I interviewed a member of my Yoga Jedi Council, and today as a guest, we have another member of my Yoga Jedi Council, and that's Jody Domerstad Boyces. When my first yoga studio that I practiced in closed, I had to find a new home, and I quickly found one at the studio she co-owns. Funny thing is that I can't go anywhere in the North Jersey area in the yoga circle without somebody knowing Jody. She is truly a rock star. She has an incredible story and journey to share that I know all of you will learn a lot from. Hello, Jody. How are you, my friend?
I'm well. How are you?
Very, very good. Let me do your bio. It's a little lengthy, folks, but I think I need to read all of it. Jody is a seasoned educator in body, mind, philosophy, and healthful living, and feels strongly as an echo of her own healing journey that no one should suffer. Experience with some of life's more serious threats, including addiction, PTSD, a brain tumor, infectious disease, has necessarily deepened our understanding of how a comprehensive yoga practice, including philosophy, asana, breathing, and meditation, can help to understand and overcome those challenges. The positive and lasting effects of yoga were so life-changing for her that she has dedicated her life to sharing what she's learned so others can benefit. With a masterful knowledge of alignment, a keen eye for detail, and a laser precision with how to deliver cues to take students to a peak asana practice, Jody's asana students and fellow teachers alike have deemed her the teacher of teachers. Since undergoing brain surgery, that's right, folks, I said brain surgery, Jody's studies have shifted to yin yoga with founders Paul Grilly and continued study with Sarah Powers, Yin Level 1, 2, and more. Additionally, multiple restorative yoga trainings with Judy Lassiter and Jillian Pransky. Earlier studies include 500 ERYT and multiple 200-hour trainings in Vinyasa, alignment-based Hatha, and the Barkin method. Tertiary wellness trainings include inner light therapy, neural sculpting, which is fascinating, source point therapy, Reiki master, and spiritual response therapy practitioner. Holy mackerel. Jody's yoga path includes a 500 ERT studying with the best of the best teachers and an impressive array of specialty yoga over a decade of study of alignment-based hatha and so much more. Oh, what do you have to say about all that, Jody?
Wow. as I'm listening, hearing it back, it feels as if I lived lifetimes. It really does. Feels like I lived lifetimes.
You probably have, Jody.
Yeah.
But, I've known you for about 2 years, and we have a really great friendship, and I love your studio, and I've gotten a glimpse into your life's ups and downs, and I know some of your history. I don't know all of it. But in your words, in your idea, what makes your personal journey so incredible and so important to share with our audience today?
Well, first off, I love words. And when I thought of the word incredible, I always look up words. And incredible means to some hard to believe, far-fetched, and highly unlikely. And so some of the things I experienced, I was told I would never heal from. And so to be sitting here 100% healed and 100% functionable with the trauma that I've experienced from physical, mental, emotional, sexual, from all of that, to me, it's incredible because people think it's not possible. And I'm living proof that it is. And that's why in my bio it says, I feel no one should suffer. So everything in my mind is possible to heal. It's just taking time and looking at it and believing, having a belief that your behaviors, your habits, and your actions, they're not who you are. They're just a response to something else.
Right. Boy, I don't know where to begin with all of that. There's so much there. So let's start here. Let's go into a little bit of what I would consider your bread and butter. How did yoga find you, or did you find yoga?
Interesting enough, yoga was a prerequisite for college. So I had to take yoga, and that was when I was 18. And as I took it, I became fascinated with it and started to study it at a studio very close. I went to Montclair State University in New Jersey. And so I went to a studio in Montclair at the time. And when I was there, I was also seeking therapy at college for an addiction. I was bulimic for 20 years. And my college roommates told me I had to go for help. So as seeking help, they said yoga would help me. So yoga at first became a way to love myself or to figure out a connection with myself. And so that's how I was kind of guided into yoga. But then as I studied philosophy deeper and deeper, and this concept of meditation and the big idea, who am I started to become fascinated with my habits, my behaviors, my addiction, my self-abuse to myself. And so I longed for healing. And so I dove into yoga. I probably took 4 or 5, 200 hours, 3 or 4, 500 hours, and I have over 10,000 hours of study. And not to share with people, it was really to understand myself because I wanted to heal.
I have to say it's funny enough, and I didn't know that you went to Montclair State, but this is fun. You'll find this interesting. I went to Montclair State. I know your husband went to Montclair State. My wife went to Montclair State, and the very first yoga class I ever took was with her in the prerequisite at Montclair State University. Probably at the very same time you were taking yoga for the very first time. Now, I didn't dive deep into yoga. It took me 20 plus years to refine and reconnect myself to yoga. But I'm listening to you saying to myself, holy mackerel, how unbelievably funny is that?
That is great. There's no coincidences, right? We were brought back into each other's lives again.
Yep. Now, you have owned studios, multiple studios. And I've been in yoga long enough to see yoga studios open, yoga studios close, yoga studios change. I've taken a pretty deep dive in the last 4 years into yoga. When did you decide to open up, become one again, which is a studio that you co-own now that I'm a member of, after being out of it for just a little bit of a while? How did that whole process happen?
What we started to notice, I had a friend who is a business partner, and then my husband also co-owns it. But I had this friend who I met from teaching at other studios say to me, you teach something different. You dive deeper in than some things that are being offered. Yoga is a system, and sometimes we only teach the physical part. And I don't, because I believe all of it is helpful for us to change. the breathing, the physical, the mental, emotional. And he saw my frustrations because at the time I was feeling unheard. And so he said, I think it's time you reopen. And then I sat with that and thought, it is time, because I want to share the tools that I have used to heal my life. And the only way that I was able to do that is if I had my own space offering that. And lastly, which is really the most important thing, our studio is based on love and acceptance. Because when I met my husband 10 years ago, I was still bulimic. I was still sick. I was still self-abusive. And my husband was unconditionally loving and accepting. And I started to learn from there to love myself, unconditional love. And we wanted to hold space for our students to come in and just be who they are and not worry about what postures they're doing or what their outfits look like. Or some people that come to us don't even know what a yoga mat is. And so we wanted to build a space of unconditional acceptance, support, love, and build community, because it's in community where healing really occurs.
I was personally shocked because I own a business for 18 years, and I have another, this big Beyond Your Wildest Dreams business with my partners. And I was shocked to learn that Become One was only 2 years old. That shocked me because of the community, because of how I felt everything was put into place and it was structured properly in my mind. All the class offerings, to me, it functions and still functions and will continue to function like a studio that's been around for, 15, 20 years. And I can only make the assumption that that's, from you and from Dan and from your other partner who I have not met yet. And that's where this whole comes from. And it's really shocking and really, I really congratulate you at only 2 years open. That was very, very surprising to me.
Thank you. That goes to the idea that love is the only answer, because behind it, I'm still working on systems putting in place and a little more organization. But our staff, some karma yogis ask to karma yogi. We don't ask people. The people that are at our studios and our teachers, they're our family. And we want that, because if we're all family and we all support each other, then that's what we're imitating and sharing with our students that come in. And then that hopefully will radiate out to the world, because healing the world it really starts with healing ourselves.
Right. Now you in your bio you mentioned the word asana, and just for people who may not know these terminology, and you also mentioned there's so much more than just the traditional yoga postures like upward facing dog and downward facing dog. Asanas or yoga is really only one part of Ayurveda. Am I saying that right? Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's really. I'm sorry. What were you going to say, Jody? No. What were you going to say, Jody? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say yes. In watching yoga transform from 25 years ago to now, it is missing the philosophical piece, the discipline piece, the mind-body piece. There's 8 limbs of yoga. That's why I call it a system. But society has removed a lot of that, and it's become playlists, music, and movement. And so asana means the physical movement of the body. And that's one limb of the 8 limbs. There's another limb, pranayama, which means prana means life force. And all that is a fancy word for breathing. And there's practices to teach you to elongate and lengthen your breath, because if your breath is longer and slower, your nervous system calms down. And now your body is calm, and inflammation can lower, your mind can calm down, and you can start to heal on a deeper level, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Then there's also the study of self. how am I behaving today? Who's showing up today? That's what intrigued me, that branch of looking at myself and my behaviors. And then there's a branch, how do I treat others? See, if we take all that out, then we've just become exercise. And it's so much more. It's such a powerful tool that if you add, the movement is really only to understand your body and to use your body as an instrument to understand yourself better. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting because, as you know, we hold so much stress in the physical body. So if we move it, that will help us calm down and hopefully help give us a clearer vision or perspective.
Yeah, and that's what I've found so fun. I love culture. I love cultural anthropology. I love religions. You know, in class the other day, you mentioned you were reading the Bhagavad Gita in the evening before class, and how very few people do that. And you know, I'm one of those crazy people because I've listened and read that whole thing, and you know, and I appreciate, and that's why I appreciate yoga. I appreciate yoga for so many things. I appreciate yoga for the cultural aspect. I appreciate yoga for the religious aspect, the philosophical aspect, the breathing aspect, the meditative aspect. And I also appreciate it for the exercise and the physicality of it as well. And you know me as a male, I'm at times I am seeking a yoga practice that is more for strength building and exercise. And at times that's what and other times I'm looking for like a yin practice where I'm calming and relaxing and stretching and deepening my breath. And for those of you who don't practice yoga out there or are thinking about it, there is an enormous world of yoga that will have something to offer anybody and everybody in some capacity. And I think you would agree with that, Jody.
Totally. And that's how I feel. A yoga practice should be challenging because we want people to be challenged and to grow. And the physical aspect of me is so important, and we can keep it physical and strong and add in a lot of those things. And at every time, at different times in our lives, a different practice will be needed. And that's really what I love about what you said. You know what you need. And so hopefully the world starts to realize what they need and that there's more opportunities out there. Sometimes I need a strong practice. Sometimes I need a yin or calming. And they both serve us well, especially when we need them to support our being.
Right. And I totally agree. And I encourage people to take a deep dive. You know, the science of Ayurveda and yoga and the pranayama and the yamas and all these other things are really, it's really fascinating. And we've had this conversation as well too. And you know, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but initially yoga was designed to help people get into a meditative state comfortably for an extended period of time. Is that a fair statement or a correct statement?
Yes. People say yoga's 5,000 years old because they found a picture of someone sitting cross-legged in the caves in thousands of years ago. And what that was really showing us is people believed in meditating and sitting still. So most of the practice, especially in the yoga hatha pradipika, it just shows you 12 poses so that you can sit for a longer period of time. It's only in the last 150 to 200 years where the complete asana and all these other poses have come into play.
Right. Interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
So let's take a 180-degree turn. Let's take a dive into your brain tumor and your healing from that. How did that whole thing come about? What did you realize in your body? What were you noticing? You know, obviously you had to have the tumor removed. And I know some of the steps you took to heal from that, but I'd love for the audience to hear it in your words.
So it's 5 years this year, and 5 years ago I was still in the hospital. So what was starting to happen was I was feeling depressed, very depressed, as if I couldn't even function. and I was starting to black out. And I just thought it was because I was very tired.
Mm-hmm.
And by blackout, I mean, I'd be talking to you, space out, come back, and have no idea what just happened. And at home, my husband, Dan, would come home and say, I thought you were going to do the dishes. And I said, I did do the dishes. He'd walk over to the sink and the dishes were there. So in my mind, I was doing the dishes. I was doing the wash, but really nothing was happening. And so he was thinking, what is going on? Does she believe this? Is she lying? And so fast forward, that went on for about 2 or 3 years. Fast forward, I woke up one day, tired, took a yoga class, and was doing energy work on somebody. And in the middle of a hold, my right hand flew up in the air as if I was holding a pizza, and I started stuttering uncontrollably. Duh, 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 duh. And the young woman on the table, is looking at me, and she starts crying, and I'm thinking, what are you crying for? So I'm watching this happen, and thank God for meditation, because I realized I couldn't stop it. So I sat down and I watched it, and it probably was about a minute long. So I watched this record keep playing, duh, 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 and I'm thinking, this is interesting. I'm either having a stroke, a heart attack, because at that time I had no idea. So I continued to work on her for another 2 hours, and then tried to drive home and had another seizure and lost control of my arm and feeling, pulled over, drove back to work, got a ride to the hospital. By the time I arrived at the hospital, I had no speech whatsoever. I had no feeling in my right arm, barely could use my right leg. By the time they got me in, I was fine. So I thought, I'm just going home. After the CAT scan, they found a tumor in my frontal lobe, prefrontal cortex, left side, and my brain was swollen so badly that they told me to call my loved ones because they didn't know if I was going to make it through the night. And I ended up staying in the hospital from that day for 30 days. I had brain surgery. The tumor was removed, but then a blood clot formed, so I had to stay till we figured out how to dissolve it because the medicine they were giving me wasn't working. I could not read when I came out. I could talk, but it was stuttered and a loss for words. I couldn't organize thoughts. I couldn't think of little things like a doorknob or curtains. I had no intonation, and I couldn't feel my right arm for a while. And they told me the possibilities were I wouldn't get my full speech back. I might not be able to comprehend what I was reading. I might not be able to use my right arm, and that there could be later on complications. If scar tissue formed, I could have seizures that look like mental illness because the tumor sat in the area that regulated emotions, that helped to not regulate, but sort out what's appropriate and what's not. So a filter, perhaps we could say, which I didn't have use of for a while. So yeah, after I healed, we had some work to do, and I used meditation once I was able to, and neurosculpting, a form of meditation to heal, and body work. Because with the scar tissue in the brain, if you work your legs can affect about 80% of the brain tissue. So we started body work right away. And I also had paralysis on the left side of my face, which I don't have anymore.
Okay, holy Jesus. Okay. So yeah, those are some lofty, they really filled you with a lot of hope, a lot of
ideas that you were going to be able to recover. They did a great job with that, I would say.
Yes, and that's why the word incredible felt so powerful to me for the name of the podcast, because far-fetched. The doctors planned on me being on seizure meds my whole life. And I looked at the doctor and I said, no. And he said, well, I'm not going to take you off of them. So you need to go find someone who will. And I said, done. And I used neurosculpting and an integrative medicine doctor to wean me off without any side effects. Also the blood thinners. You're going to be on these for about a year. And I disagreed. I said, I'm going to shrink it. And within 2 months, it was gone. And the doctor, he couldn't even believe it. He said, it's gone. And then they also wanted me on aspirin for the rest of my life, where 2 aspirin a day are linked to dementia. I'm not taking aspirin, I told them. Well, you need to. I take turmeric. That's why I was excited to see the supplement that you've made.
Oh, yeah.
There's other ways, there's other ways around this stuff. And the fact that they did not believe in this was not really helpful, like you said. That's why it is incredible, because we have to believe more than what people tell us, or else what they tell us, whoever they are, becomes our truth. And that was not my truth. That was their story, and I was not going to buy into it.
Well, you utilized standard Western medicine at its best to go in there, do the brain surgery, and remove the tumor. And then, from my perspective, you use the best of everything else to heal yourself.
Yes, and I believe in both. People ask me all the time, you don't like Western? Of course I do. I wouldn't be here.
That saved your life.
Yeah, I also had osteomyelitis. I had a bone disease that they had to amputate part of my foot. I mean, of course I love Western medicine, but I don't want to be on antibiotics for a year that they had me on. There's other things, but I think in conjunction, there's such possibilities in healing.
Yeah, totally. Now, you mentioned neurosculpting. I'm a big fan. You introduced me to Lisa Wimberger, who I interviewed on this podcast. You guys can go back and listen to her interview. It's the May 21st, 2018 interview. But maybe for our audience, because it might be the first time they've ever heard of it before. It was the first time I heard of it prior to coming to your studio. What is neurosculpting? And because it is inculcated into, as far as I see, again, into every teaching that you do, every yoga class, how you choose your words, it's very, very interesting to me.
So neurosculpting, I like to say and share that it is a tool to initiate a deeper conversation with yourself. And it is a 5-step system that Lisa created, and the brain loves lists. So the fact that there's 5 steps, the left side of your brain gets excited about that. And then the right side of the brain gets excited because we add colors and textures. So there's 5 steps, and I have come to find it so helpful because the first step is to calm the nervous system. And what I have found from other meditations, which I've done all of them, Vipassana, Japa, TM, and they all work great. But for me, the first thing I needed was step 1 that nothing else offered me, and that was to calm down. I lived limbically, which means in fight or flight, my whole life. I've lived trauma my whole life. So if I did not calm my nervous system down, then I couldn't really make a change, because I'm going to be changing from fear. So the first step in neurosculpting teaches you to take a moment, calm down, so that our nervous system finds homeostasis and balance. Then after you calm down, we stimulate the frontal lobe, curiosity, which sits in the prefrontal cortex. And when we're in that place in the front of the brain and we're curious, we're now out of stress and we can start to see things from a different perspective. And then we can change the story, because we cannot cut out of our body our memories, our traumas. They are with us. We have to change our relationship to them. And that's what neurosculpting does. Neurosculpting helped me see that I had never felt safe a day in my life. And I had always lived in a defensive mode, just waiting for something to happen, even after 20-something years of yoga, because I never realized that I was doing all this from a place of fear. So this idea of calming the nervous system, going into the area of the brain that has logic, the bigger picture, and then bringing something up, you can start to break away and chisel away at habits and patterns. And lastly, the language it uses is a language of empowerment. That's why I love it. I wonder what it would feel like. Where do you feel this? Where do you need this? And if you start to empower someone or use that languaging, now you're stimulating a place in them of curiosity. Because the goal in yoga to me, or in sharing it, is to empower students to take these tools and use them. I'm just a guide. So neurosculpting has helped me with addictive behaviors. It's helped me with belief systems. It helped me with my brain tumor. It helped me heal from a chronic disease. I had Lyme, Bartonella, and a few other viruses that left me blind and paralyzed, and a few other symptoms that they told me I could never heal. New doctors can't even find them anywhere. And I have no symptomology because I changed my belief about this uncurable thing.
Brain tumor, osteomyelitis, bulimia, Lyme's. Man, I think I wish for you a pretty calm life at this point going forward.
Yeah, and there was one more. The doctors speculate that I got hit in the head with a softball going about 60 miles an hour, and it broke my jaw in, some say 3, some say 6 places, because they had never seen anything like it. And they think that from that trauma, that could have started to stimulate the brain tumor. Yeah. And what you said is what most people think. This is not possible. And it took me years to live from a place of peace. And my life is not like that anymore. There's no chaos in my life. There is no health scares in my life anymore. And it's because I was used to adrenaline and cortisol and chaos. And most of us are. So we have to learn to live in a different way. And neurosculpting has helped me to see things differently and live differently and know that I don't have to experience those things to be who I am.
Oof. Yes. That's why I believe the title is Incredible Journey of Health and Healing, because it is, like we've mentioned a few times, pretty amazing. Now, is there one thing, Jody, that keeps you seeking health and healing on just a regular day in and day out basis?
Yes, and that is, the one thing that keeps me going is so I can stay present in the moment so that I can connect with people in the world. The one thing that keeps me going is connection, and seeking the depth of connection with people, with my husband, with places, with anything. And the concept of I want to be healed and clear and conscious so that I can experience life fully. Because we have a short amount of time on this planet. And I've experienced too many times when it was almost my last And so every time I get up, what I'm seeking for is clarity. That's why I keep longing to heal and learn about myself so I can start to heal those parts so I can be fully conscious to experience the depths of life.
Great answer. So 2 final questions, a little bit more lighthearted. So when you're not teaching a 6 a.m. yoga class, Jody, from waking to sleeping, do you have a routine or a rhythm that you do on a relatively regular basis?
Yes. So we usually get up at least twice a week at 7 to work out. So at 7 a.m. I'm usually up unless I have to get up a little earlier, and it's to do some movement and or meditation. So I'm up at the same time every morning to just get my day started, and then smoothies, and then work because my schedule is so sporadic. But what is always constant is a nap or a check-in. There's always some time where I lie down for 20 minutes or sometimes an hour to recharge. And I'm either resting in constructive rest. I'm in Shavasana, which is a yoga pose, which is just lying on your back, or I'm sitting in meditation, neural sculpting to rejuvenate and clear. And then at the end of the night, I redo neural sculpting. I clear my day, and then I meditate and sit in stillness and either fall asleep or then go to sleep after.
Very cool. And how can others reach you?
Well, I have a website that's in my maiden name, jodydomerstad.com, or they can reach me through Become One Wholeness. If they go to the website, the email is there that they can reach out to us for.
Very good. Thank you so much, Jody. My name is Dr. Noah DeCoyer. Oh, it's our pleasure. Your co-host, and you are listening to the Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. If you like what you've heard today, please share this with your friends and family and encourage them to subscribe on iTunes. Better yet, if you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating. It helps us helps more people find us. We can also be found on Spotify, YouTube, and our website as well. You can sign up for our incredible weekly email at www.beyondyourwildestgenes.com. Don't forget to check out our new line of premium supplements at our website, www.beyondyourwildestgenes.com. And as my oldest son Hayden says, be awesome and never unawesome.